How's everybody doing? I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Tape myself. Anyway, just got done with my workout. About to head into work. But before I do, let's talk a little bit about low carb diets. Last week I talked about high carb. This week, low carb. I'm gonna put you right here. Make a little adjustment, just like that. Hopefully you can see me, hear me. Anyway, so what is a low carb diet? Well, a low carb diet, the typical diet range of, or recommended intake for a typical diet of carbohydrates is about 45 to 65%. Now, a low carb diet, obviously, as the name implies, is gonna be below that recommended range. So you start looking at maybe about 30 to 35%. Oh, nice, well done. I'll edit that out. And then if you're on a very low carb diet or a no carb diet, then you start getting into about the 15% or lower of carbohydrates. Anyway, does it matter what type of carbohydrate you're eating then? Next logical question. And that really depends on what study and what research you're looking at. For example, the study that I pulled from, it was actually a study of a study. It took the total cumulative data of about about a dozen other studies, put it all together and analyzed it, and it found that only about 50% of those studies actually specified what type of carbohydrates the participants were eating. Now, typically the carbohydrates were, of course, whole grains and low on the glycemic index, the ones that were specified anyway, and the other ones, no real way of knowing what type of carbohydrates they were eating. What is a low carb diet then? What is the theory behind a low carb diet? How does that operate? How is it even beneficial? Well, as you know, or as you might not know, carbohydrates, they're broken down in the body into glucose, and that glucose is what fuels your body. It's what your body likes to use as its primary source of energy. Now, once the energy need is met in the body, that glucose is then stored as glycogen. Now, your liver can store glycogen. It can be stored in your muscles. That's each separate storage. Your liver uses it for its purposes. Your muscles use the glycogen for its use. So basically, when you perform an activity, your body's going to start pulling from those glycogen stores, and then it's going to start breaking it back down into glucose to fuel your body, give you energy. Now, on a low carb diet, the theory behind it is you are maintaining your borderline in a ketosis state. So it's recommended that you take in about 2 grams per kilogram of body weight to stay out of a ketosis state. And I talked about ketosis and utilizing fat and protein to burn rather than carbohydrates to hopefully aid in weight reduction. But anyway, so that low carb diet is going to start it's going to deplete your glucose, obviously, because you're not eating as much carbohydrates to fuel your body. So it's that the glucose and the glycogen stores are going to be depleted, or to a lesser amount in your body. Therefore, your body's going to need to pull and burn protein and fat for energy. Kind of simple. That's the theory behind a low carb diet. So who is a low carb diet appropriate for? Well, once again, it all goes back, and it depends on what kind of studies you're looking at. A lot of the studies that I found in particular were directed towards type 2 diabetes. Now, in general though, I will say the studies that I found, the low carb diets are pretty much appropriate for the masses, for a multitude of people. And that's because they have a wide range of health benefits. A low carb diet aids in regulating blood sugar. It can also help reduce your LDL cholesterol. And for LDL, I don't think I've covered it before, but LDL cholesterol, that's the bad type of cholesterol. You don't want that. Your doctors are like, hey, you need to lower your cholesterol. The LDL, that's what they're talking about. HDL, that's the good type of cholesterol. Although you don't want to be in a surplus of that either, even though it's good. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Got me? All right. So it also helps with reducing that LDL cholesterol, and naturally, it can help. A low carb diet can help you lose weight. It has been shown to be helpful, I guess you could say, in weight reduction. Now, weight reduction is not a guarantee of a low carb diet. Like I said before, one person's metabolism, genetics, age, all that, the different factors for one person is not identical to another person. So that's why in these studies, if you do decide to look them up, which I suggest that you do your research, do your due diligence. But that's why in these studies, typically they only specify a range of carbohydrates. So next you ask, what's the proof behind a low carb diet? Well, I say that the diets are subjective. There really is no solid proof. And I pulled a little excerpt, it's in my blog, you can check it out. But I pulled from the Salmon Encyclopedia of Health, which references the journal, the American Journal of Medical Association, that basically says that there is no one solid, end-all diet to provide you with every health benefit possible. One diet might be a low-fat diet, and that diet might butt heads with a low-carb diet. You have researchers and scientists that say the low-fat is better. Then you have research and scientists and data that say the low-carb is better. So real quick, the hit point, what's the takeaway from this whole video? What's the takeaway about a low-carb diet? Well, really, in my advice, if you're asking me, which you're probably not, well, you might be because you're watching the video, but in my advice, a low-carb diet, a lot of diets stem from that, like the Mediterranean, the Paleo, the Zone, Atkins. A lot of diets stem off of that. And on a quantitative level, if you start looking at low-carb diets as a whole, it does show a fairly consistent amount of health benefits. So my recommendation is go ahead and try it out. Don't make drastic cuts to your diet. If you're looking to make those drastic cuts, I highly advise you to check with a medical professional or nutritionist before you go doing that. But in general, if you're just looking to make a diet change, go ahead and experiment with a low-carb diet. Try it out. Try going into that diet range of about 30 to 35% coming from low carbs, and just play around with it. See what happens. Try it out for about a month. Record all your nutrition information. See if you have a weight reduction. Go ahead and you could probably go in for a physical, get yourself checked out, whatever, and see if your cholesterol went down, all that great stuff. And if it did benefit you, well then there you go. There's the proof. No need to argue with anybody. It works for you, so you're in the clear. That's the takeaway. That's all I got for the video. And if you liked it, give it a like. If you learned anything, give it a share. And if you have any advice, what you want to see, what you want to learn, go ahead and let me know, because if you want to learn it, chances are I probably want to learn it, because I love all things fitness, and I'm rambling, always rambling. Anyway, got to go to work, so I'm out.